Hey, what's up, app mafias? Welcome back to the commute. And in this video, we're joined by Anil sir. He is the principal engineer in Shell, and we are talking a lot of things: Android development, how to become a better developer, how to even become a principal engineer. So there's a lot of ground that we cover. I hope you enjoy this thing. If you want more of these podcasts, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started. I usually start my podcast off with, "How do you define stable life?" So what according to you is stable life?
Stable life.
Yes.
I think it's a myth. Yeah, I mean, there is no such thing called as a stable life. There will be challenges, and all you can hope for is become competent enough to face it head on. And you hope and pray that the God gives you strength to face the situations, and you always prepare for facing those situations. So my dad used to say that don't pray for what you say no, not facing tough situations. Don't pray for say that please God don't give me tough situations. Just pray for that whatever the situations come, you have the capability to face it head on. So yeah, I mean that's what I feel.
It's in summary, you optimize for failure rather than optimizing for success.
I mean, yeah, you can say that. Rather than instead of saying optimize for failure, I would say optimize for not to fail.
Um, like I usually talk to around 4 to 5 people, like in like the podcast because it's pretty new, and all of them are Android lovers and somewhere around app lovers, and I've asked them this particular question continuously, and I have encountered many different answers to this particular question. I usually ask this because I wanted to understand how a person thinks.
Okay.
Like every person responds differently. Previously, I just edited another podcast with Akshay sir. He is, I think, so the founder of Android Engineers. He has worked in Z5.
Okay.
So I and his according to him, the stable life is a very different. Like I think so, it would be like defining stable life as a Gen Z would define it. He
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
chill se raho, everything will be all right. You just do what you do. And but people who are like I think much more senior define it very differently. People who are in a very founding manner, like for example somewhere around Bill Gates and stuff, they define stable life very differently. um, yeah, I think so. Being defining a stable life will depend upon the person to person, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a culmination of various experiences that you might have had in your life, right?
yeah.
And nobody is wrong and nobody is right. It's what your perspective is, and whether that perspectives help you to manage your life. That's what matters.
Um, let me rephrase this question even more precisely. Like, when you started as a software engineer, like in development field, when you switched to from being from a teaching career to the development field, did you do it out of the scope of interest, or did you do it like having both in mind, money as well as interest?
Uh, okay. Let me put it this way. I started my career very much as a teacher. I was a lecturer in an engineering college, and in a very good engineering college, very stable life. But after around 3 years of teaching in an engineering college, I am talking about not IITs. I am talking about Tier 1 Bangalore kind of engineering college. I taught for 3 years, and over a period of time, certain things dawned upon me. One thing is syllabus very rarely changes in Indian engineering colleges. What you teach now, people have been teaching for last 10 years and probably will teach for next another 10 years. And when you join as a fresh lecturer in an engineering college, the subjects that you end up teaching are those which nobody else wants to teach. So maybe you want to teach something which you are interested in teaching, but there is already someone who is much senior in the system, and he or she wants to teach that, because one, maybe they don't want to put extra effort teaching something else, because teaching a subject, it takes effort, it takes a lot of time. You have to say, I mean, one of the common thing in teaching a word is, if you want to talk for 1 hour standing on the dais, you have to read a literature of at least 4 to 6 hours. If you don't have that much amount of material, if you don't have that much of raw material, you can't talk for 1 hour. So people who say that teaching is very easy profession, okay, I think they have not done teaching. Only those people who say that. So one thing is that, so it takes a lot of out of you, okay, and then over a period of time there was also pressure to get into research, which is PhD, doing PhD. I was already a postgraduate, and I was not interested in doing PhD. So I loved teaching. I wanted to continue to teach, but here was this, what you say, no, a professional life where I couldn't continue to do that if I did not want to do PhD, and I did not want to do PhD. So that was one thing, and another thing which I kind of felt, which is also rooted in reality, is you teach in, I mean, you do a lot of teaching, but it is not very much rooted in reality. It's all theoretical. Lot of things that teaching happens in our engineering college. I really doubt whether even I, as a teacher, really understood how requirement specifications are written, how acceptance criteria are written, how acceptance criteria are translated into test cases. How do you write the unit test case? I mean, how the traceability matrix is managed. How, I mean, all these. I mean, it's all theoretical. Nobody has done it, and I used to feel that it's all empty talk. The students are not getting the real world feel of how exactly things are done and executed. So I felt that, okay, I can teach, and maybe I can teach very well, but it's not very much rooted in reality. So I wanted to kind of experience a real world feel of what development is. So that is basically the trigger point, that okay, that is the reason why I left teaching in an engineering college and joined a corporate world, where corporate training happens. I think it is still teaching, but it is much more rooted in reality. Here you are interacting with the experienced folks who are already doing development. They are facing some problem. You are trying to help them as you are teaching them. So it is much more rooted in reality. But then later point in time, I felt that, okay, this is still not good enough. I want to really get my hands dirty, and probably all the time I thought that I will do development, but then sometime point in time in future I will go back to teaching. But looks like I won't go back to teaching. That is the reason why I kind of started my own YouTube channel, where I still keep my itch to teach satisfied, and still continue to do the development. So that is how it happened. Sorry, I don't know whether I answered your question.
No, you answered it perfectly. I just like wanted to specify, like I know that teaching is kind of very tough. Why? Because I try to make YouTube videos around like topics like Kotlin, and when you try to actually articulate what do you actually have in mind, it becomes really really tough because you might know, okay, but I can apply it, but how do you explain it to someone who doesn't understand? So
Yeah,
that's the part that I understand teaching is really, really tough. And I think in particularly in Indian colleges as well, like coming from like not so good college in India, I just experienced that most of the teachers do not care or they do not have the background of like creating really good maybe apps or softwares. If we look outside of India, like in maybe University of Stanford or somewhere, I've seen that the people who teach there are not actually just teachers. They own their own companies and they're running the companies and out of curiosity they come there to teach you, and they take around like 2 to 3 lectures a week maybe somewhere, and they teach you around 4 to 5 hours a day. So I think so the approach that the Indian colleges have adopted around making a cog in a industrial revolution machine is very bad. But yeah, I think YouTube and free resources like YouTube and of course Udemy courses and stuff are changing that. But yeah, I think it's more about the journey when you go from teaching to development. The thing that I wanted to understand is like when you go from teaching to development, when you go from this explaining something theoretically to something practical, um, the thing that changes is that you understand not only the practical side of it but also the theoretical side of it. So I think so you become way better as a developer as compared to other people who might not understand the internals of it. What do you think about teaching as a method to learn something?
Uh, One of my lectures used to say that to master a subject, you have to teach a subject. One of the reason why I do teaching and YouTube is it's very self-serving for me. It some way concretizes my understanding of a problem, and it is my way of documenting of my understanding permanently for everybody else and for myself also. So yeah, I agree that if you are able to teach it in a very easy to understand manner, that means you have understood yourself very well. If you are struggling to teach it, then there are some certain gaps which you yourself don't understand. So I think in a way, teaching helps you to master a subject, and I do agree. Yeah.
One more thing, like if I want to somehow become like let's say I'm like let's take my example. I'm just a 2 years software engineer. I do not have a very good knowledge in like specialty in Android or maybe any field. I would say that I am an okayish developer and I'm growing day by day. But I want to become a better developer overall so that I can, of course, have the knowledge to back my, to back a good salary as well as to actually make an impact somewhere, because I've seen that my code maybe like a 2 years guy's code wouldn't be that integrated into a software, but a 7 to 8 years guy code would definitely be integrated into a software. So what do you think would be best way other than teaching to become a good developer?
Practice.
Practice.
Do actual build something, do something. I mean, once you say, for example, let's assume that you are trying to learn mobile application development itself, uh, Android application development. You will go tons of documentation, you will go through tons of documentation, you will go through a lot of tutorials also. There is almost a term called as tutorial hell. People start consuming huge number of videos.
Yes.
Okay. And you never feel adequate that you know enough to dive into it. I instead of expecting that one day will come where you will feel confident enough to start building something on your own, instead of waiting for that time to arrive, what I suggest is start building something. It could be as simple as a calculator app. Okay, no need to invent a requirement for you to build. No, try to build something which is solving your problem, or even if it is not a solving your problem, simple calculator app is good enough. So start building a calculator app, and as you start building, you will start facing the problem. And as you start facing the problem, you will try to solve the problem. You will get stuck. You will ask people. You will talk to Chat GPT. You will talk senior developers. You will talk to your friends. So at the end of the day, development is a lot about problem solving and also coming across as many diverse scenarios as possible as early as possible. The difference between a good developer and a developer who is just coming up is a good developer has come across more diverse set of problems and has solved them. That is why he knows that when you go and talk to him or her that I am facing this problem, he says that, okay, have you done this, okay, have you checked that, okay, is this the bug you are getting, is this the log that you are getting, because they have just come across these things much before you have come across. So the only way you can do this is try to come across the problems as quickly and as early as possible. The numbers of years matters, doesn't matter. The more number of work you have done in a very short time matters, and more problems you have come across, that helps you to be more, what you say, no, confident while dealing with uncertainties. And I think that's what matters. Don't worry too much about how much more I have to read. Just start building. Okay. And as you start facing the problem, okay, you will come across the problem. And as you do it more and more often, you will start developing almost a kind of a hunch on how to solve this. And it happens over a period of time. And don't expect that suddenly, say a 2-year-old experienced developer be as good as say 10-year-old developer. It can't be. It takes time. It takes time in every field. A 2-year doctor is different from a 15-year-old pediatrician. You can't expect a 15-year-old pediatrician to handle a 10-year. I mean, it always happens. So be patient with yourself and be kind to yourself. If you are not able to solve the problem, it's perfectly fine. So, and what also matters is having a company of good mentors, people who have done the stuff and who can be kind enough to explain you what the problem that you are facing, and help you to solve the problem. Not solve the problem, at least give you a kind of a hint as to what the problem that you are facing and then how to solve it.
One more thing that I was really confused about recently was that since I started working in a little product based company, right? And like you have so much experience seeing code from 15 or more than 15 years. Like, how many times have you encountered a problem that maybe I should start documenting like the code base, because I think the code base isn't up to date, or maybe the code base is not present anymore, or certain things are missing. How do you describe someone who just started out, right? Is like just joining a product based company, right? And they might not have like a documentation for the whole code base, and it becomes really difficult to navigate the code base with just your mind. And how do you even start actually documenting the code by yourself and actually understand the whole code base of a particular app, maybe, or maybe a whole software?
I mean, I have myself have faced this problem quite a lot. Suddenly you are put into a project where a project already exists. Somebody has written that code and he has already left the organization and team,
Yeah.
and now it's your code, you have to deal with it. I think ideal situation should be you should have a KT, but that rarely happens. But when it doesn't happen, then ideally speaking, try to get as much data available. I mean, at least have 1 or 2 day conversation with the developer who is leaving and handing over to you. Worst come worst, you don't have anything. What will happen most likely is you have the code base, and somebody asks you to do a CR, change request, feature change, and most likely you start writing the code and you start facing the problem. It's very much probable that you will not be able to do it. Something will start breaking. Okay, so as it starts breaking, put a lot of logs. What's happening, what log errors that you are getting. Okay, so as you do that over a period of time, okay, it will not happen very immediately, but over a period of time your understanding of the software or the system or the function or the class, whatever it could be, it will start improving, and then you can document it. I think it was very bad probably couple of years back. But now, currently, after the introduction of these various tools like Copilot and ChatGPT, it is becoming actually very easy. It is much more easy to handle these kind of situations. I myself have seen various times new developers come into the project nowadays, and usually what used to happen was there was a kind of a period where they used to get started with, say, only bug fixing. They are not even put into the development, and after they do the bug fixing for some time, then they are put into the CR, change request, and then they are basically upgraded to the full-fledged development. But during all this time, there was almost kind of a continuous hand-holding required by the leads or by the senior developers in the team to help them understand the code base. They could almost shadow the senior developers. But nowadays, what I am seeing is most of these new developers who might not even have a complete end-to-end understanding of the whole code structure, they start querying the copilot, and they understand where the class is, where the structure is, where the handler is, where the controller is, and within just a couple of days they are able to figure out how to do it. I think nowadays, because of these lot of AI tools, it becomes much more easy for a new developer to understand a unfamiliar code and code structure and the flows, the data flows and everything much more easier. It makes it much more easy. But then once you have an understanding, start documenting it. Some kind of a wiki page, some kind of a documentation is very very necessary. You need not have to, I mean, nowadays you can even write the document just looking at the function. You can ask the copilot to generate the document what the function does. And you don't have to be really elaborate, but even if you write a very simple statement about what the function does, what the class does, it helps a lot. And you also have to document at the system level which component is talking to which, what APIs are getting called, what is the end result, and everything. I think it becomes very very important. Documentation is important. Without that, just that if it exists, very good. But if it doesn't exist, you will have to start at some point.
I agree. I've encountered the same problem many times, like with documentation. I've seen that people leave the project without any documentation, and it's just a spaghetti code, and now you have to solve every problem there. And I've seen multiple people who are just maybe not even introduced to the language, and now they're actually trying to understand the code base. I guess the more spend time with that particular code, the more you understand. That's why.
It also shows the maturity of the culture in the organization and the team. If they are putting people who are not even familiar with the programming language to do something in production code, uh, that's not good.
I'm not talking
Okay.
about GFG, but I've
Yeah, yeah,
seen other developers do that.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, as like um, one thing that I wanted to know more about is, like, for example, um, if we have some kind of a very big code base, which is, I think, so connected to multiple levels, ds, maybe let's take an example of Facebook itself, Facebook app, right? And I think so it has so many features that it's really difficult to understand the whole code base of this thing. How do you even navigate this such a huge code base?
It depends upon what is your responsibility. Is it really necessary for you to understand the whole code base? That's the first question that you have to ask. I mean, if you just think about the Facebook or Amazon website itself, it has got thousands of features, hundreds of features. There is an invoice, there is a product catalog, there is a payment gateway, everything. And you as a developer, okay, you need not even have to understand on things which you are not working on. See, the attention span of a person is a limited capacity. We cannot think that we have unlimited capacity to imbibe and absorb everything. So we need to treat it as a limited resource and optimize for it. So the first thing is, first of all, let's put that unrealistic expectation that I need to understand the whole thing. Think of it like blind person trying to understand what an elephant is. Somebody touches a tail and thinks that that is what an elephant is. Somebody touches a trunk, that's what an elephant is. They're all correct. They're all correct, but it's only one small perspective of what the correctness is, right? So in the same way, I think if you are a junior developer who is working on, say, product catalog, you will have to understand the product catalog part very well. That in and out understanding of the that particular feature you should have, and probably initially you won't have it because you have newly joined it and trying to make sense of it. But as you spend more time with it, and as you see how leads are doing it, everything, no, your understanding will evolve. Okay, but let's assume that if you are not an architect, you are not a developer, you are now an architect, you are a principal software engineer. Okay, you are much more senior now. Here, now your, what you say now, focus changes. Here you may not know in this particular file, in with this particular class, what line of code is written and what it is doing. Your concern is not that at that moment. Okay, so now your shift changes. Now you have to understand what are the interfaces, which system is talking with which particular system. Okay, what is the data format that is being exchanged, what is the non functional requirement, how much time is it taking, are you doing any data massaging, how much time it is taking for doing the data massaging, is it really worth doing it, or should I offload this responsibility on the client side, on the front side? So I think you have to understand your role well and play to the advantages of what is required out of that particular role. So at an architect level, you should know those things. You should have a very good understanding of probably at least 5 or 10 interfaces or external entities with which your application might be interacting with, and you should have a very good understanding of that in and out. But once again, do you need to know in which particular file, in which particular class, hosted on which particular environment, what is happening? Maybe there will be somebody else in the team that is his responsibility or her responsibility. Okay, but not probably your responsibility, but your responsibility lies somewhere else.
Like I've seen, in let's I talk about from my experience is like I've seen software architects, and we usually have meetings with them, and they understand somehow. I always used to wonder this, um they are iOS developers, a tech lead is sitting there, there are Android developers, there's product managers, and everyone is telling what they're actually doing, day in and day out to him, and he's somehow able to understand every part of it. I always wonder, do they even understand it, or they just nod maybe something? Like, how does a software architect even understand such a wide variety of knowledge, like iOS, Android, product management?
I think I don't know. I can't comment on the individual person whether that person is understanding it or not. But at the end of the day, fundamentals don't change. uh, it is pretty much same. The software engineer at the end of the day, you have to maintain the data somewhere. There are only probably 5 or 6 or 10 standard data structures, data bases. Okay, or you have to either store it on the client side or on the server side. Then probably you have to optimize it to store it on the client side in a particular way. Okay, and I mean, these are things I have evolved so much time over a period of time. Okay, and pretty much understanding of the system, okay, over a period of time has very much become structured. Okay, so when you are trying to understand over a period of time, you don't think in terms of line of code, you think in terms of patterns. And if you are able to quickly grasp the pattern that you are seeing when iOS developer is talking to an Android developer, or a front end developer is talking to a back end developer, there is a common jargon that develops, and that understanding automatically comes. I think if you are talking to a very good architect, they really do understand what they are talking about. If they are not, then it's a problem.
I've seen like they usually ask questions to everyone, like how does this particular work? How can we change that thing?
I think that is very, very important. If asking right questions is very, very important, because if you are if I mean asking wrong questions will give you wrong answers. In the same way, asking right questions is also very, very important, because they are basically looking for a particular lacuna of information which they want to make a decision, and they know exactly what they are looking for, and that is important, and that is a kind of that is a skill that you develop over a period of time. A fresher may not be able to get that kind of understanding.
I agree. Like, one more thing I wanted to understand, like you told, like about co-pilot and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you think there's a new perspective around? I don't know, if seniors would have seen it, but a new perspective around in like on Twitter with, uh, Gen Z and millennials. That's what I think. I don't know, that AI is going to replace programmers. Like, what do you think about that particular perspective?
Is AI going to replace the developers? Uh, I don't think so. Uh, I think it's overhyped, and I see. Let me put it this way. I let me see. Talk about how developers are using Copilot and all these tools. Okay. If you are trying to say reduce the amount of time you spend writing templatized code, Copilot can help you there. Okay, and let's assume that you are you don't you want to say reduce the time writing in some very, what you say, no, complex regular expression. Okay, you can simply give a statement that I want to check this and give me a regular expression. I mean, of course, you, if you are a good developer, you can figure it out very quickly on your own, but you have much more important things to worry about. So this you can kind of offload, outsource to a co-pilot. Okay, so in that way, it is making the people more productive. What would have taken probably 2 hours to develop probably now takes 1 hour or 1.5 hours. Okay, but does that mean the a good developer can be replaced with Copilot? No. I mean, I have seen the codes submitted by a developer probably directly blindly accepting whatever the Copilot suggests. Okay, and more often than not, no, it gets caught. And sometimes the developer still needs to know what exactly the Copilot is suggesting, and what they need to pay attention to, whether whatever the suggestion that it is giving is good or bad. All that due diligence, human intervention and due diligence, is very much required, and that cannot be, what you say, no, undermined. That is very, very important. Uh, but regarding the AI replacing the developer, I would say if you want to build something which is already built, okay, so then most probably it can help you to do it, speed up to do it. But can you ask a co-pilot to from scratch build something? Can I give it a requirement specification and say that okay, go and build it now? I don't think so. Software development is a very collaborative endeavor. If you have done it, you have might have already seen it, that you don't sit in a silo and simply start coding. You interact with 10 people, discuss with 100 people, probably don't agree with another 5 people, then come to consensus with another 2 people. So there is a lot of give and take happens. Okay, and if 2 people can't be on the same page about the same problem on how it is supposed to be implemented, okay, how can you expect a co-pilot or a, say, this kind of a automation tool is going to suggest which is agreeable by all?
I agree.
So I feel it is overhyped. and already this hype is dying down. It's not like this is going to. So if I mean, if you think, let me put it this way: if you are a very young student who are worrying about should I even get into development because of the advancements in the AI and Copilot and everything, I feel that should not be a problem. What you should worry about is, do you like programming and do you want to do it? And if that should be the only core, what you say, no, the guiding factor, the needle that should tell you whether you should go into coding or not. Not because somebody else. That has always been existed. Something else will come and replace something else. What are you going to do? I don't think that's the solution.
I agree. Like most of the time, I've seen that I was recently asking ChatGPT for like how can I find the build versions of like if the architecture of the app actually supports the architecture of the mobile that that the user installing app on. I was trying to find the code base of this thing, but I couldn't. It might be hallucinating or it might be
Yeah,
doing something weird, and the output was really really bad, and somehow it just popped out, and it just came null and null again and again and again. So
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
understand. I understand that anytime soon AI isn't doing anything good other than being just a good um, co-pilot. Um, yeah. Other than that, one more thing that I recently encountered was that a lot of people are, like struggling with XML, Jetpack Compose, then KMM. A lot of like students also ask me like, how do I, what should I start learning? Should I start Flutter? Because there are many Flutter jobs. There are not so many Android development jobs. Android development, there are three different own fields: XML, Jetpack, KMM. Swiggy is using KMM. Other people are using XML. What should I do? What should I learn? So what's your best approach of like so much divergence, not only in Android development, but also in web development as well? You have MERN stack, you have so many different stacks. What's according to you is the guide here? How can we actually learn something that brings impact to the company and helps me, become a little have a stable life? That's what I'm thinking.
I think the frameworks will come and go. Today it might be MERN and it might be something else. I mean, I have been doing mobile application development since 2010. Okay. So at that time, it was not even Android Studio. It was Java, pure Java based development. And we used to do development on what is it?
Eclipse.
Eclipse. Yeah. See, I even had almost forgotten the name of the IDE. And to get started with the Android development, the amount of the configurations that you had to do, download the SDK, configure it in the Eclipse, all those things. I think it has changed a lot over a period of time. From pure, what you say, Java-based Android development, it has now become Kotlin-based development. And even at that time, also there was a lot of what you say, no, what you say, other frameworks. There were, other than React Native, there was also mobile web was also one thing. Which is basically web-based applications which are much suited for the mobile screens, and then a lot of what you say chatter around responsive web design to make the regular web applications look very mobile friendly. That is still there right now. uh, then there were MeEPs, mobile enterprise application platforms, which were like Kony, mobile first, all those things. So I think the frameworks have come and gone, but at the end of the day, what I feel as a developer, you should not concentrate too much on a framework. Don't become a Java developer. Don't become a .NET developer. Don't become a Spring developer. Don't become a, say, Jetpack based Android developer. Okay, you become a developer. Try to what you say, no, think of it like this. Let me give you an analogy. Let me not talk about development at all. Let me talk about something else. You are a car mechanic, okay, and your job is to fix a car. You cannot say that I will always use one kind of a wrench. I will always use one kind of a nut bolt. I will always use one kind of equipment to solve this particular problem. The problem will dictate what kind of tool you will use. Okay, and as a car mechanic, and if you are a good car mechanic, your responsibility is to ultimately figure out how to use a new tool. Okay, and if you are really good, invent your own tool to solve a very unique problem which nobody else has solved before. At the end of the day, these programming languages and these frameworks, all these, no, these are tools to solve a problem. And you are a car mechanic as a developer. Your responsibility is to have your fundamentals right, and then based on what suits the requirement, okay, you should pick and choose whatever the tool that you want. So I suggest think of it like that. I think if you think of like that, it just makes your life a little bit more what you say, no, easy to handle. So every time a new framework comes, you don't get flustered. Just think of it like, okay, it's another tool that I will have to learn on how to do it. Okay, that, I mean, does that help?
Yeah, one thing that I was wondering about, like, um, usually, I've seen this quote maybe go around, and it's basically called abstraction is the enemy of development, and
Abstraction is enemy of.
development, like. Like I've seen many senior Netflix developers talk about abstractions, and not in a way like abstraction is bad or something, but abstraction is bad to learn the code, because you have now many layers of code base to go through so that you can understand the internals of how a thing work. So, what do you think about this particular quote? In like in specific to Android, like for example, you have Kotlin that is based on Java, that is based on something else. We used to develop C codes in Android as well. Now Android is also based on C or something else. So, what do you think about abstraction? Is the enemy of development or not?
I don't think it is enemy. It is, I think anything is just a need. It's neither enemy, neither a friend. I mean, let's take, for example, if Google is so hell bent on, say, making mobile application development, Android application development, I mean, they have their own native platform, right? They had Java and then now Kotlin. Okay, fine. But then why are they allowing all these various other frameworks also to run in Android ecosystem? I mean, you can develop mobile applications using, say, Flutter, React Native, and probably sometime later something else will come. Then this KMP is there, right? So why all these people are allowing these different frameworks to run their on their ecosystem? From their perspective, it's very simple. The more developers come to their platform, doesn't matter what is their, what is, origin story, so to speak. You could be a say JavaScript developer, you could be a .NET developer, whatever it is, but you want to develop an app, you want to develop a mobile app, and Android happens to be one of the major platform, and programming language should not be a barrier. That is their thinking. Okay, and the more developers come, the more apps come, the more apps come, the ecosystem is more diverse, and more apps are there, the more revenue it generates for them. Okay, that's as simple as that, for from their perspective. Okay, and from developers perspective, it basically means depending upon a particular requirement. Okay, and the requirement sometimes might not be even very convincing also, but that's, let's not get into that particular debate. Okay, native, fine, native is what you want, we will build a native application. React Native, yes, you have a lot of JavaScript developers in the company, suddenly a lot of mobile application related projects have come in the company. So how do you transition? You cannot train people to become a native developer, ask them to learn Kotlin, master it, and then become a mobile developer, right? What already is there, you already have people with the JavaScript skill set, okay, and here is a framework, React Native, which can help you to build a mobile application development. Why not? Okay. So I think we should come out of this mindset that one framework or one programming language should always be a silver bullet. I think it can't be, and it won't be.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe as you spend more experience as a developer, you will pretty soon realize that there is no point in being a fan of one framework or one platform or one programming language. Maybe at initial years of time, in your initial years of period, maybe you have that kind of a feeling. But as you spend more and more time, no, it's just a programming language. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
I agree. One more thing that I really wanted to ask was, like, I've always wondered that I personally do not enjoy solving bugs, but I enjoy development. And since I like building features, so, like, as a developer, I have a knack of like, okay, I want to develop something. Please give me a feature to develop. I don't want to pick something that's already written. What do you think is the, like, as like bug fix? As a developers, we are trained to be someone who wants to innovate something instead of just bug fixes. So, what do you think is the method here to balance out, because the company will always ask you to fix bugs? Yeah,
I think you can't run away from fixing the bugs. I think debugging, okay, is a very important skill as a developer also, and as a developer in a corporate world. I mean, until and unless you have your own company and you have your own corner where you are the developer and building something from scratch, and that is perfectly fine. But if you want to work in an office environment and you want to work in a company where you are working on multiple projects, okay, you will very rarely get to work on a project from scratch. There will always be project which might be already going on where you join somewhere in the middle, or there might be a project which is what you know has lost the staff and now you are part of that thing. So I think as a developer, your work more often than not is only 20% of the time you will actually write something. 80% of the time you will actually read what other people have written. And to understand what other people have written, debugging skills are very important. And bugs are part and parcel of this profession. Having ability to solve the bugs, it's very important. If you don't like solving bugs as a software developer, then you are in a wrong profession. It's very much part and parcel of life, and it's like, think of it like a professional hazard. You have to deal with it.
I
You
agree.
can't run
Like,
away from it. Yeah.
recently, when I talked to Akshay sir, and he told me he has a very different perspective on that particular thing. He told me that I really like solving bugs instead of building features. I enjoy solving bugs. So I think it depends from person to person how a person develops a knack for it, and I think so. It's a transition from DSA versus development. A person who likes DSA usually would like to solve bugs, as compared to a person who likes development would likely to like to implement features. Uh, that's what I think, at least.
Yeah, maybe.
What you think about like, when as a principal engineer, like, how do you even? I always wondered, like, about staff engineer. How do you even? They look like far fetched as a software engineer with just 2 years of development, 1 year of development. They look like, oh my god, with the how they're thinking even. So, like, how do you? What do you suggest? A junior software engineer to actually practice or build something, or maybe what kind of framework would you suggest, not in a like language pattern, what kind of path would you suggest to actually reach staff engineer, maybe?
I mean, I myself have not thought about it. I mean, You reach this level over a period of time with having done lot of things. And if company finds or the people find you that you are capable enough and you can prove that you are capable enough, you reach this particular level. And it's like I mean, they're not too much different from junior developers. It's just that as I was speaking a moment back, it's just that they have come across a lot of different scenarios and they have solved those scenarios, and their understanding of the world and the problems is a little bit more than probably a junior developer might have experienced, because his experience is very less. I mean, you if you have spent 2 years and you have spent 15 years in the field, a 15 years person would have experienced a much more diverse set of problems, and far more set of problems would have been solved by him or her. I think that's the only thing. I think what is also important is probably I will say yes, coding is important. Technically competency, if I can speak, it's very very important. You should be a very good developer. You should have your software engineering basics very well. Okay, those are very very important. Uh, but what also matters as you want to grow to become more into senior roles is how much of a good communicator you are. That also matters. I see a lot of people technically brilliant. You give them a problem, they will solve it within a eyelid. Okay, but if you ask them to present it, okay, and say make a story out of it, okay, to say people who are not technically well versed, okay, most of the times the business guys, they think it in terms of purely what problem is getting solved, that's it. They really don't care how did you solve it, what class you created, how did you route it, what data massaging you did, was it in XML, was it in JSON, how did you transform, what framework did you use. Okay, maybe a friend sitting next to you will get impressed by that. Okay, so how you can explain very complicated technical stuff to a non-technical person so that they and in a way that they understand the enormity of the success. Okay, but in their own language. Okay, so I think communication is very very important. Most of the people actually don't pay much attention to that. You have to be technically very good, that is very very important, but what is also very important is, do you have the capability to succinctly able to explain what is happening in your head, what you are thinking, to other person without loss of information. I
I
think
think
that is a very very important skill, and I think, and once again it is a skill. It's not like you can develop it. Just like development skills can be developed, the communication skill also can be developed. And if I think people who are say more than 3 year 4 year old experience, they should start taking those kind of steps. So trying to improve their communication skill is very very important. How do you write, how do you communicate, try to go into conferences, present your ideas. It's very very important that people hear you. You might not be good, you might be very rusty initially, but as you do it again and again, no, you will become better, and that's what matters. You
I
are
agree.
always improving.
So like this is like an extension to the similar question. Like how do you even make an impact to the product or the company when you're a junior engineer? Because I've seen that most of the code that we like as junior engineers write doesn't might not be integrated, might be integrated, but doesn't improve the revenue of the company. How do you even say that I've impacted the company? Is there a way to impact the company as a junior developer?
I would say take the initiatives to solve most complicated problems. If somebody is, I'm pretty sure there will be problems to solve. And the only way, I mean, as a developer, junior developer, is that to showcase that I am capable of solving much more complicated problems than what you think that I can. and that will suddenly start give you the much needed attention. And I think that itself will start impacting you, the way people see you. Okay, later point in time now, the more and more people will start relying on you, and that will automatically start creating a kind of a, what you say, environment that this guy can be trusted with complicated problems.
I
Okay.
agree.
And not only that, what also, once again harping back to the previous thing, is you should not only solve the problem, you should also communicate that how difficult it was and how you solved that particular problem, so that the other people understand that how much of a problem complicated this was and how you are or you were able to solve it. So it's not only important that you solve the problem, take the initiatives. I am pretty sure there will be a lot of hackathons that might be happening in your companies. Learn a new skill, showcase that you have learned this particular skill, build something and showcase. Okay, don't do presentations. Rather than doing presentations, build something and showcase that I created this. Okay, maybe in your internal repository, create a couple of tools and showcase that this tool does this, I created this during my off time. Okay, so as people will start seeing you that you are going beyond your regular work, okay, and doing something which is helping company to do certain things and become more efficient or doing something now, people will start definitely taking notice. They should, and they should do something about it. Otherwise something is wrong with the environment.
I agree. Like, one more question that I wanted to ask. This will be the last question.
Okay.
Like, I just wanted to know: is it a good idea, like, to develop your own app to maybe start indie hacking? Is it a good idea to do it, like, without your job or with your job? What do you think about like indie hacking as such?
Sorry, what is indie hacking?
Indie hacking, like, this is a culture on, I don't know where, but like in on Twitter, this is the most of the people try to develop their own products, and the product is like a, what they call this product is a one-person company. So they maybe develop one particular product, for example, Gita GPT, right? It's around a wrapper of Chat GPT, but it answers your Bhagavad Gita's question. So it's a Gita
Yeah,
GPT app, right? Now it's a very
yeah,
one person product. It's easy to make, and it's just API calls to Chat GPT.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
people are trying to develop products. One person trying to develop a whole product from back end to front end, and actually trying to earn a side hustle income from it. So that's
Yeah.
what people define as indie hacking. Uh,
Hmm.
what do you think? What do you is it a good approach for maybe every developer, or to for developers to start their own apps? Maybe think of
Yeah,
building apps.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Well, first of all, one thing is there is a satisfaction of having created something that creative. It, I mean, development is a creative field. At the end of the day, you are creating something out of nothing. I mean, something that exists only as an idea is now a tangible application. Nothing wrong with that. And if you are able to, if you are able to make a traction out of it and make money out of it, kudos, very good. I personally feel if you have an idea and if you want to showcase it to the world, okay. One thing is it basically demonstrates one thing, that you have the ability to translate an idea into an application, and then as you are doing that, you are problem solving, and that helps you to become a better developer also. And even during very early stages of my career, uh, I used to do a lot of these kind of independent apps. I didn't care whether people really used it or not. I wanted to do it just to see whether I can do it or not, and it did really help. Uh, yeah, I mean, people. Yeah, and then nothing should stop you from doing that.
I agree. Like, this is it from my side. Hopefully, you enjoyed this podcast. And if you want more of these, let me know. Comments are open for you. If you want to follow Anir sir and his YouTube channel, links will be in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.